Hello and welcome to another episode of Not Your Pendeja. I'm Cristalina. Today's topic is mother's intuition. Is anyone familiar with it? Well, let's just say it's one of the most important things our mothers have. I can't tell you how many times my mother casually mentioned something, and it turned out that she was right. A mother knows, and truth is, although I would overlook a lot of the things that she mentioned, I just assumed that she just didn't like anybody or was just being overprotective. But the truth of the matter is that she was never wrong. Growing up, my mom would always point out the people who were either good apples or bad apples. And I never looked at them the same way again. There was this one particular girl who lived in the same neighborhood and went to the same school with me. I haven't had the best luck with female friends, but that was simply because they would either try to bully me, manipulate me, or even betray me. It was for that reason that I kept my circle small. Well, this girl went to the same school as I did, and she seemed really cool. However, she wasn't who she said she was. She had this idea of who she wanted to be and befriend everyone in the process. I confided in this girl. We became friends really quickly. I told her who my crush was, and I even told her some of my secrets. She would then turn around and relay them to her other group of friends. Why she did that is still a mystery, because I thought she was awesome until all my secrets were laid out. I remember I had a crush on this guy, and I told her. Well, she didn't wait. She goes off to tell him that I have a thing for him, and decides to start telling him all these lies about me. And of course, not long after that, she started to date him. Great girl, right? She would then manage to create this crazy fiasco of a story. It was wild, honestly. She created this story about how one day after school she was attacked by the cool kids and then state that they, quote, cut her. I tried to be a supportive friend, but I wasn't stupid. I could tell it was a story and the wounds were actually self-inflicted. It looked as if she stood in front of the mirror and did it to herself. To her surprise, when people began to piece the story together, she eventually changed it to them having her make her hurt herself. But I knew the truth. As a matter of fact, she confessed all her wrongdoings to me in hopes that she would keep me as a friend. And although I had confided all of this information to my mom, she was easily quick to say, I told you so. Gotta love moms, right? This isn't the only one that my mom warned me about. Actually, she could see all the red flags from a mile away, and I was simply just trying to exist and enjoy being the kind soul that I was. I wasn't gullible, but I was hopeful, and I wanted to be right about people too. Little did I know that the people who say who they aren't really who they are. I wanted to find a friend who I didn't have to feel was my competition or seeking my downfall. Little did I know that this mean girl energy was something so normalized, and instead of wanting to see each other succeed, they prayed for my demise. It's fucked up, honestly. Wanting to find that one friend who will be supportive and grow with you. I'm lucky to have dodged a couple of those mean girls, but it was almost as bad as the men that I escaped. There's a lot of shitty people out there, and most of the people that you meet in your teen years, some either grow out of it, or some just stick with it and keep going. My mom didn't just see those red flags in just my friends, but she also saw that in the shitty men that I dated, or even tried to get to know. She called them malos, or bad. It got to the point where she didn't have to talk to them, but she managed to see them for who they were. I guess if you hadn't seen it yourself, it would look like judging a book by its cover. But that cover had a lot of negativity attached to it. It was like if they didn't pass the vibe check, they failed it. Mom knew the bad apples, and she saved me from a lot of bad situations. Well, most of them. Intuition. We all have it, but what if our intuition doesn't completely kick in all the way and only kicks in until after we become mothers? This is just a thought. I mean, even growing up, if I was in a sketchy situation, I knew how to maneuver myself out of it. In a particular one, oh man, the things I did with my friends. There was this other girl I met in school. She was cool. I liked her. Her brother was in my class, and one day she came by, and we kind of just started talking. She hated our teacher. She just hated him. Honestly, the teacher was kind of a bummer. Dude would always treat all the females in class to a lower standard, and would openly shame us for being on our, quote, cycle. Dude would literally call the ladies lazy. I know, tool. And this guy was a teacher. Misogynistic much? Well, we didn't dress up for PE. I forgot my clothes, and well, it was a good hair day too. Aside from that, we had gotten to talking, and we decided that we were going to be friends. For the next few weeks, she and I would hang out after school and even take off mid-class. High school freedoms that we definitely took for granted, right? Well, we cut class one day, and she called up her cousin or whatever. Cutting class was like the thing to do. Well, she asked him to pick us up and take us cruising. Her cousin did just that. We got picked up by a 20-something-year-old, quote, cousin. I thought we were going to go to the mall and just walk around for hours until we got bored and go home. Well, that didn't happen. Instead, she convinced them to take us somewhere fun. She wanted to go party, and so did they. I wasn't really into it because right off the bat, I got a creepy vibe from her cousin. I begged her not to go, and I told her that we could easily just go to my house and chill instead of meeting with these guys. My version of fun was to get to know the town that we lived in. We didn't have to do anything illegal. Remember, I'm a square. Or so I thought. Well, here comes the cape because some weird shit happened. We went back to their house because one of us had to go to the bathroom. Well, she decided to sneak into Dude's room and make out with him. I was left in the living room with her pretend cousin because this guy was trying to get at me, being like 15. Ick, by the way, ick. I can hear her yelling from the room, and her so-called cousin just tried to keep me from getting her out. Well, that didn't stop me. I managed to talk him out of the way and ended up pushing my way through the door. I pried this other guy off of her, grabbed her, and ran out the door. She was scared. She was crying and telling me that she didn't think anything bad was going to happen. Now, I told her several times, girl, we gotta go. We shouldn't be here. But she wanted to find out and party with these creeps. After we ran out of there, they drove by us and tried to convince us to come back. I said, nope. And I ran home practically dragging this girl. I knew right away going along with this girl and her cousins was a bad idea, but I didn't want her to get into a shoddy situation that she couldn't get herself out of. So instead, I followed my gut and I didn't leave this girl. I didn't think that I would have forgiven myself if anything bad happened to her if I bailed on her. Instead, I took it upon myself to look after her, even though she messed around and almost found out things could have been worse. I stopped talking to her. It's been years, and although she's tried to friend me on social media, I don't think it'd be a good idea to stay in contact. I knew things were not going to work out after the incident. I knew my circle would remain small because if anyone has put me into a bad situation, I simply remove them from my life. I wish this mentality remained in my romantic life, but hey, we can't all be winners. It's a start. I'm trying here. I'm trying to better myself, and after seeing my flaws and seeing ourselves as humans and seeing the mistakes that we make, we'll learn to grow from them. Well, some of us. I can only speak for myself here. You know, after becoming a mom, I can see myself spotting the bad apples from a mile away. My littles used to have these friends who lived in the same neighborhood. Well, they sort of gave me this weird vibe, and it did not sit well with me. I was always hesitant about them playing with them. I was right, though. These kids were bullies, and my littles had no idea what a bully was. The oldest one of his little friends would come and call them just awful names to the point where he had to tell them to stop. And I had to tell them to stop. Eventually, I had to tell them that they were no longer allowed to play with them. And I had to explain to my oldest why it was not a good idea. I had to explain to him that friends don't treat you badly. Friends encourage you. And yeah, there's going to be times where they won't be so friendly, but it should never resort to any type of name calling or belittling each other. Their dad and I, told those friends' parents, and they sort of denied the whole thing and tried to shift the blame over to them. It was at this point where the lioness in me came out, and I told them to keep their bullies away. As we walked away, the oldest kid tried to call my son an idiot. I cannot tell you how quickly I turned around. After that, parents would not allow their kids near mine either. They saw what I was easily trying to explain to them. But whenever they wanted to play, I would ask their parents to also be present. And I wasn't going to allow them to degrade my littles for their own entertainment. Trust me, I've seen it. I'm not proud of the bad situations that I've seen or where I've had to step in as a mother, as a friend, or even a wife. I saw so many people try to break the strength I had worked so hard on. My family is everything, and what I wouldn't do to protect them. My ex was so trusting, but I could see the fakes in the mix. I could see when people wanted to weasel their way into just to get something. I always pointed out when something was not adding up, and he wanted to fight for them since, I was his family, and eventually he realized that family lies. I had to protect them and our littles from the drama that circled certain individuals, the thieves, the liars, the manipulators, and the drug addicts. I run a tight ship, and I didn't have the time to allow them to dissolve this for a clown. I always had my guard up, but I never paid attention to the fact that there was a weakness in my mix. I stand by the people I love, and I don't expect anything in return. Although I have seen the red flags and my intuition does what it does best, I will always listen and figure out the situation. Now that I'm aware of my faults and after seeing how much a mother knows, I will give it my shot and follow through. Especially since it's my turn now. Don't let that feeling in your gut fade. It's there, and it's for a reason. Don't silence the internal voice telling you something is off, because it could save you from heartbreak, a scary situation, or it can save your time. We are in tune with ourselves. That little voice inside our head tells us when we need to run, escape, or just let it go. We need to listen. We need to listen and we need to understand. Yes, things happen, but it can be avoided. Avoid it. Think about yourself. Think about the headache that it will save you. Listen to your ama. Listen to your grandma. Listen to yourself. Don't be a pendeja. Be a chingona. Be a chingon. Be strong for you. And be strong for the people who need you. That's all for today's episode. Stay tuned for next week. Like, share, and subscribe.